Big LEZ'S League, an all rugby league experience.
All right, let's move on to Dolphins. We've got a B-.
Yeah, I have them at a C+. I like the direction.
Yep.
I do.
About at the same spot, yeah.
Yeah. I love the direction that they're going in, and the future seems pretty clear to me, to be honest. It's either going to be Trey Fuller or it's going to be Hammer at fullback. That's probably the only question mark. And then
Next
also
year? Next year?
Yeah, next year Nicarima as well. Anyway, this year, great season. Katoa, unbelievable form. Tonga, not the best, but club footy, he was unreal. Some argued that he was probably supposed to be the Dalian halfback of the year. I think that Cleary got it off the back end of the season and how good he was. But I loved what the Dolphins did. I mean, that 2 or 3 game run where they were beating sides by 50, they scored the most points out of any team this season. They probably should have made the 8 if that was the case, and they probably should have kept that going a little bit longer with the side that they still had with injuries. But they're getting a bunch of guys back. Flegler's good for round 1. Gilbert, they're getting a bunch of guys back that they didn't have this year. A lot of the older guys are slowly sort of coming out of the side. And I guess, it was you had the meme of when the Dolphins started, it's the retirement home for a bunch of the older guys. You're seeing all these younger guys come through now who have been mentored by these older guys, and it's almost like it's completely flipped. It's a very young team now. There
was a very good plan going forward, and they're really benefiting from the clear direction they wanted to go in early on. So
I think it has to be... I don't know if you agree, but I think it's the best post-Wayne that a club 100%. Has gone.
But you know what the difference is? Wayne has gone to every club to win a premiership.
Yeah.
He went to this club for this purpose, and I think it's really helped his legacy because a lot of Newcastle fans in particular, I was a Newcastle fan when he left the club, so I thought, no, he's a shit coach for a long time. Like he just buys the same players, and he just has too many connections and that's how he wins games. Which, yeah, it's true. But you also got to be a good coach to do that.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the knock on him, that he wasn't a good club coach. He was a good footy coach, not a good club coach. And what he did to this club, he should be the rebuild expert. Like if he goes to PNG,
perfect.
They're killing it. But yeah, I've gone them a B-. I think they definitely overachieved. So many injuries. You got Gilbert, Flegler, who weren't there for long. Gilbert was there for a little bit. Got injured for the rest of the season, but they should be back. And then the likes of Dan Safidi wasn't there too long. Max Plath wasn't there majority of the season.
Yeah.
Kurt Donahue was amazing this year. Done. Herbie Farnworth had the best season of his career.
Yeah.
Selwyn Cobbo is coming to the club next year. But I think Jack Bostock is still locked into that left wing spot.
Mate, I think Averillo is the one that's going to move out. Not Bostock. Bostock was unbelievable to start the year. He was outstanding. Yeah, that left edge was just it was carving blokes apart. I think that Averillo will move into a bit more of a 14 jersey type role. He'll come on and play a bit of a utility. He can play that roaming sort of role, a bit more dynamic. I think that Plath probably starts the year in the back row because that looked like that was the plan, and then Donahue 13. I think it's perfect.
Yeah, I love it. I love the direction they're going in. I think there's a lot of sides that make the 8, so I'm not sure where they land next year, but we will talk about it in
season preview.
Yeah, season preview.
Yeah. All right, legends. So you heard me and Sav talk there a little bit about the Dolphins. We're going to sort of elaborate on what we were sort of talking about, and I've taken notes from all of those episodes as well that I did with Sav. The ones that we haven't done on the podcast yet at this stage. So what we're going to do for the Dolphins, Bulldogs, and Sharks reviews is I'll pin what we said at the start, me and Sav on the Burst podcast, and then we'll obviously go through everything that we've missed. So obviously you'll see me for the next 3 weeks in the same clothes on these 3 episodes. And we'll be talking about all the stuff that we missed at the back end of the season review episode. So Dolphins, obviously, in this one. Stuff that we sort of missed or didn't really talk too deeply on. Averillo, we obviously mentioned that he'll be probably moved out of that centre position with Selwyn Cobbo coming into the side. You'd imagine Selwyn Cobbo goes straight onto the right centre position. I think Averillo, unfortunately, and it was the same sort of story for him at the Dogs as well, I think he's just a victim of his own versatility. Like, he's constantly moved around. Obviously played a little bit of fullback at the start of the year when there was injuries and whatnot. Played on the wing, played in the centres this year. So he's been moved around quite a bit. Obviously the Dogs as well. He played both 6 and 7. Played in the outside back. So I think with Averillo, I think it's a good thing and it's a bad thing when you look at these sort of guys in your certainly in your wish hearts too, because he can just come off the bench and play pretty much everywhere. So that keeps him pretty much in that 14 sort of role at the Melbourne Storm. But for Averillo as well, you just sort of get moved around when there's injuries around the side. And, you know, it is a good thing that can sort of keep you in first grade too. But if you're looking to, you know, get a decent contract and lock down a position, this sort of thing with your versatility, sometimes you can be a victim of that versatility and unfortunately just never really lock down a certain position. And I feel like Averillo is going to be one of those guys. And I think there's a real opportunity or a real chance that we see Averillo, I think, permanently move into that 14 sort of jersey for the Dolphins. You'd think, obviously, as I said, so Katoa goes into the right centre position. Your halves for next year will probably be either one of Katoa and Nikorima, or if they want to move away from Nikorima, because Nikorima is getting older. In saying that, Nikorima had a fantastic year this year for the Dolphins, which we'll talk about in a second. But if you do want to go away from that, maybe Kurt Donahue takes that 6 jersey. I think there's a real chance of that happening in the future. But Averillo, I think, as I said, I don't think there's really a spot for him in this starting team anymore. I think he can make an awesome utility where he can just come on absolutely anywhere. In the outside backs, he can come on at fullback if there's an injury. He can come on in the halves if there's an injury. At the absolute worst, he can come on at hooker or in a roaming lock sort of position there as well. So I think he is going to be a victim of his versatility next year, and I think with these sort of guys coming in, you'll probably see a little bit more of that, but that's obviously looking a little bit deeper into next year. Still think it's very relevant though. And I mean, look at this year with his versatility, killed it at fullback at the start of the year, and then pretty much played, I'd say a 6 or 5.5 out of 10 every time that he fielded in any position really on the wing in the centres throughout the year. So solid year for Jake Averillo. Herbie Farnworth, we sort of touched on it, but career best footy at the moment. He killed it this season. Very unlucky not to be a centre of the year. Critter got it over him, and so too Tony Staggs. I think I would have picked Herbie Farnworth over both of those guys, realistically, if you look at this season alone and what he was able to do, the impact that he had on pretty much every game that he was playing for the Dolphins, and the game that he got injured in as well. You know, in the first 15 odd minutes, he had run for 150 metres and scored a try. Like, just a weapon, Herbie Farnworth. I think he's in for a massive year next year. But he was probably the centre of the year for me this year too. His footy this year was outstanding. Cody Nikorima, sort of touched on it there before we've been talking about Averillo, but he probably had a career best year, or at least for the past couple of years as well. Really good footy. Him and Katoa in those stretches of games where they were beating sides by 50. He was outstanding. Really enjoyed the season for Cody Nikorima. Really, really good footy from him this year. I think the good thing for the future, and again, we sort of touched on it with the Dolphins, is that they've got depth for days now too. Really sort of trying to slowly move out these older guys, and they're slowly retiring. Your Bromwich brothers are both retired now. You've obviously got guys like Felice Kafusi. Mark Nichols just recently retired, but Felice Kafusi is probably his last or second last season. All the older guys are sort of slowly starting to transition out of this side. It is a very, very young team now, and they are building very, very well for the future. I'd argue that out of any club at the moment, they're probably the one where they've definitely got the clearest plan for the future, and we're seeing it right now. Katoa, probably Kurt Donahue for the future in the halves. You got Max Plath, who's going to be that 13 sort of role player moving forward. I'd say that Kurt Donahue starts the year there, but as Cody Nikorima probably transitions out over the next 2 to 3 years, I think Kurt Donahue is going to move into that 5'8" position. I think that Hammer is probably your long-term fullback, even though Trey Fuller could bounce in there. Trey Fuller is still 27, 28 years of age too. I do think that long-term it's going to be the Hammer there at fullback. You've got Cobo now, who's still relatively young. Farnworth, Bostock, left edge. Asako will probably come out, and you got that Tavita Nafa'u there at the moment, who's an absolute weapon. So That's sorted. The young pack, Flegler, Gilbert, Plath we already talked about. You've obviously got there Kulakefu, Finafuayaki, Colony Lemuelu. Such a great, solid pack, and the young depth that they've got and acquired now as well is great. They did let go of young James Walsh, but they've pretty much got a similar player and a similar mould. In these other guys as well, like your Platts and your Donohues. I think they're very similar players and they'll play very similar roles. James Walsh obviously going to the Cowboys next season. That's going to be a real watch. But yeah, look, their depth and their youth, as I said, they've probably got the clearest plan moving forward in when it comes to a depth piece.